TikTok is impacting the music industry drastically. It's getting tracks in the charts. It's even breaking artists. So let's hear from some music industry professionals, from major label executives to artist managers, and hear whether they think it's actually making it easier for artists to promote their music, or harder.
What's incredible as well is, the TikTok thing's very interesting because, there's a lot of the big social media guys. Gary Vaynerchuk's banging on about TikTok.
Yeah.
And I'm like, Gary says we got to be on TikTok.
Yeah.
And then I'm looking at TikTok going, I feel creepy being on TikTok. So I'm looking at TikTok going, I don't really understand what I'm supposed to do. I get what I'm supposed to do with Instagram and YouTube, but I'm looking at what I do and how I fit in. It's not for everybody. And I think, whether it's long form, short form, whether it's funny, whether it's not, it might be right for bands to be on TikTok. But I would suggest it's a certain type of band. It's the same thing as when people see Justin Bieber or Shawn Mendes and they go, ugh, it's not for me. And it's like, no, that's right. It's for them. It's perfect for them. Justin Bieber was 12 or whatever when he got signed. Shawn Mendes was 15 or 14 or whatever it was when he got signed. Perfect. But, if you're 27 years old and you're creating music in a kind of, or for musicians that are 20 to 25 years old, possibly not. It's just another way. And TikTok will have their people who get signed. Instagram will have their type of people who get signed. YouTube again. I think everyone's... that's the other thing with social media is we're all like a kid in a sweet shop. I had a meeting yesterday with someone and they were like, okay, so I'm working on Instagram and YouTube. And they were like, and Facebook. And they're like, well, what about TikTok? And what about LinkedIn? And I'm like, well, how many people have you got? What people don't realize about Gary Vaynerchuk is I've got a friend who was one of his business partners and we were chatting about it. And I was like, he's amazing. What he does is amazing. And he was like, he is amazing, but you got to realize that he's got about 25 to 30 people around him working on his social media. How many have you got? And I was like, one. That was it. I got one. And he's a video guy and he's brilliant. But, I can't compete with 30 people. So he can go on.
The department is 40 grand a month.
Doesn't surprise me.
That costs to do all of that social media.
Yeah, I'm not surprised at all. Yeah, and I think with, like you said, people being like, oh, TikTok, it's because we're seeing artists blow up from it. So they're seeing that as the new shortcut.
Absolutely.
And it was the same with YouTube at a point. Not so much as anymore. People think, oh, YouTube takes too long to grow an audience, so I won't focus on that. We know that firsthand. I'm sure you do as well.
Yeah.
So now TikTok seems like the really short-term way to do it. But I haven't actually seen that many artists doing well on it, except from obviously Lil Nas X. We've done like loads of videos on TikTok because of Lil Nas X and because there are certain genres that do well on it. But I haven't seen many artists actually creating content themselves on it. I think it will start to happen over the next couple of months, but it's a difficult one.
It is.
How do you not just jump on other trends?
Well, it's very difficult because what you're saying is inherently this isn't about the music because you can't. How are you going to put 3 minutes, 4 minutes worth of song into a TikTok? You can put a little bit of it and try and push people. I understand that. But you are saying this is about personality and story and my lifestyle and everything else first. Like if you look at someone like Lauren Gray on Snapchat or Lauren Gray on Instagram, most people will go, oh, she's a singer, she's an artist. It's like, yeah, but you wouldn't know that because you'd think of her as an influencer / model / singer / artist.
I worry about these TikTok songs because, like you say, they're dominating the charts, and I think a lot of them, to me, aren't really songs.
No,
it's
trends.
because the way it works, 15 seconds. If it's got a 15-second hook, that means it can break on TikTok. Doesn't necessarily mean it's a really good, fully fledged 3-minute song that you're going to love. So I don't know, and I think sometimes with these things, it has a moment, doesn't it? And then it's on to the next thing. So TikTok is absolutely having its moment right now, but it might be like another platform in 6 months and stuff. So I think sometimes artists maybe make the mistake where they put all their eggs in one basket. It's like, right, okay, TikTok's the thing. We need to, let's just make our music sound like it would do well on TikTok. And they like almost transform their sound and their image and stuff to make them appealing on that platform. And then in 6 months, it might be like, do you remember TikTok? That thing we did, like, we all got it in lockdown. It was really weird.
Yeah.
Do you find that like TikTok is bringing in music from a different place? So you've got your introducing coming from one direction, then you've got TikTok songs kind of just like being forced onto the radio. In that side, do you find that that's being influential?
Yeah, there's a few different ways to like break now, I guess, isn't there? As an artist, it's the kind of traditional radio route in that you get played on your local introducing show, you get played on national. If they like you enough and they play you enough, you'll eventually make it onto the playlist. And then you have this totally new side of it where it's like anybody can just suddenly become a viral hit on TikTok, or their video on YouTube could just all of a sudden rack up loads of views because there's a certain like hot rapper on it, or it's filmed in a certain, you know, destination and people want to see it, or, you know, a Grime Daily put it out, and that already means loads of people are going to watch it. So it's interesting because, you're having these like viral sensations, and then you're having, the more kind of traditional route.
TikTok is something that she wasn't very engaged with before lockdown. And as so many other people did, got engaged on the platform. And she was out of campaign. She was actually writing the next record when lockdown hit. So it gave her an opportunity to sit back and think, I can either sit now for 6 months and do nothing and stress about it, or I can try and do something to keep my fans engaged. So there's definitely been a thought process there. But when she started on TikTok, we had no idea what the algorithm meant, you know, but not as clued up about it at the time. She didn't know what would react. She didn't know what her fans would want to see. And all she actually did know was she was not going to be that person that did those little dances. And there's nothing wrong with that, because influencers make a fantastic living doing those things. But as a musician, I do believe the music should still come first, you know. And she just started uploading, funnily enough, like breakdown production videos, I would call them. So she'd take one of her singles, something like The Best You Had. Then she would go and sample sounds around London, which did make her look absolutely crazy. She was like hitting twigs off trees and like filming herself, and people thought she was a bit crazy. But then she'd come home and make a sample pack out of those things, and then on TikTok bring it all together and say, this is how I've reproduced my track. So it was clever for TikTok, it fulfilled their algorithm, and it was music based. And that's a really good example of what can I do to still be me on a platform that doesn't necessarily fully support musicians. You know, it's for a lot of different types of people. And then as it turned out, the videos reacted very well, and TikTok, we now have a great relationship with the guys there. They're very supportive with us, and now I understand how the algorithm works a bit more, and we can now, as you said, sit down and plan and say, well, we know this worked well, so what can we do with a future track, or, you know, what can we plan for the next record? And you kind of got to wing it at the start, I would say. But if you switched on a little bit and you know your fans or what you love, then if you're putting content out you love, I just don't think you can go wrong, you know?
Do you think an artist has to be able to do that sort of stuff now?
I think a lot of artists will hate to hear us say this. I do think you have to be engaged with platforms, and I'm very aware that not all artists are comfortable doing that. It's, I guess, a scary world to sit, you know, in front of a camera and do all of these things and put it out there. Yeah. But that now is the main place people are finding all of their content. You know, even from 10 years ago, before Spotify and all of these things, you know, people can have content now on demand at any time. So you release an album and fans want another album the week later. There's no such thing as this 2 to 3 year gap going off and writing this album anymore. So the best way to engage with people whilst you're trying to come up with the next record and things are these platforms. And you just don't know where something is going to take off. So I think, you know, you can be engaged on YouTube, for example, but if you're not engaged on Instagram, what if your moment was happening on Instagram? What if that hashtag you used on YouTube was actually something that was trending on Instagram and you missed that opportunity? So the volume of platforms, I would agree, is quite overwhelming because there's so many of them, and some of them have a moment in time rather than, you know, hanging about. But I do think your main platforms you need to be on.
Yeah, because it's not just one area, you know. I think that you need to be firing in every area to have a chance of cutting through, and it's so hard because there's so many places you could be firing in. So when we're not in a certain area, I always say, well, why are we not doing that? Why aren't we doing that? Because if you're not, say, on TikTok because you don't believe in it or whatever, you know, well, you're just missing out on a huge audience of people who are on there. And it doesn't mean you have to conform and do a dance or whatever, but just treat the platform in your own way. You know, and I think that's important for people to understand. You know, you do it your way, I think is crucial. And Lewis is probably a prime example.
Yeah. How are you finding it beneficial to the artists at Virgin? Are you using it quite a bit, or is it something that's happened pretty naturally for a lot of the artists?
It's definitely, some of our artists love it, supernatural to it, really
younger
enjoy
artists maybe.
Yeah, and also we've got some Indian artists or Indian heritage artists. They love it.
Yeah, it's huge. It's huge there, isn't it?
They've got, so they really engage with it. They've made friends with other people on it. You know, people who aren't musical TikTokers. They have, you know, really loved it. I mean, you know, as I mentioned, I look after Harvey, and Harvey's been
He's massive on
associated to TikTok, you know, and he's very good on the platform. He, you know, he is a musician first and foremost, and so it's, yeah, I mean, it's an interesting balance, because for someone like him, like, he's got an incredible following there, and so it's how do we relay the music content back to TikTok, and how do we keep that going? And then for other artists who don't have a following there, we want them to do all of the novelty stuff on there, because we want them to sort of be engaged with it. Apparently TikTok are bringing out an A&R tool.
Oh.
Yeah, I think we heard that at the Music Tech conference.
Yeah, well, a lot of them were saying that a lot of the labels are literally going through TikTok, finding someone that's just about to blow up and then signing them.
Yeah.
Which was fascinating to us, because
even
that's
if
someone
they
that
didn't have music.
Yeah. So TikTok is mad. I mean,
it's developing at such a fast rate.
I mean, isn't it the fastest growing app in the last year or something? Yeah, I mean, it's insane. But it'll be interesting sort of to see how it develops. I think it's important for... I have a rule where I think it's very important for all artists to have visibility on all platforms. Whether you have no followers, whether you don't follow anyone, but if you engage with it every now and again, I just think it's important. I just think it's important to sort of... You never know. It was what I always think. You never know if you post something on TikTok one day that's you messing around, and all of a sudden that's where people find you. I just think, what's the harm in signing up to something if it's free and trying it out?
Yeah.
We always say that artists are very image conscious and they don't like putting things out, but if it doesn't get that reach, it doesn't go viral, then no one saw it anyway. So there's no risk really at all in putting something out that no one sees. And if it's good and it goes viral, then great.